Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura-Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're reading a continuation of chapter 2. Canto 2, chapter 3, text number 2 through 7. All the verses up there? Since we're a little late, I'm going to read through it once and then go right into the word for word. Brahma vacha kamastu yayeta brahmana patyam injam indriya kamastu raja kama padapatim devhim mayam tu sri kamya teja kamo vibhavasum vasu kama vasum rudran virya kamo tatavayavan ananda kama tva adityam swaga kamo date sutan visvan devam raja kama sajam samsarhayak visham ayus kama svino devo pushti kama alam jate patishta kama parusho radasi lokamataro rupa he kamo gadhavan shriya kamo pasara rasamim ayapacha kamasa vesam yadita paramestinam yanam yajaya sakama kosam kama pachetasam vidya kama tugritsam tapayata umansatim. It'll take an hour to do word for word translation also. So we'll do translation. One who desires to be absorbed. I tell you what, I'm just going to, because the translation is a whole page itself. So let's see how we do this. Yeah, I'll just read through. You can just listen. One who desires to be absorbed in the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas. Now listen close, because in case you're interested, here it is, how to worship. Whatever desires you have, it's all here. Lord Brahma or Brihaspati, the learned priest. One who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly king Indra. One who desires good progeny should worship the great progenitors called the Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire. One who aspires only after money should worship the Vasus. You have to research and find out who they are. One should worship the Rudra, incarnations of Lord Shiva. He wants to be a great hero. One who wants a large stock of grains should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain the heavenly planets should worship the sons of Aditi. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Vishvadev. Everyone can have their own kingdom. One who, we don't know who will be inside the kingdom, but you can have your own kingdom. One who wants to be popular with the general mass of population should worship the Sadhya demigods. One who desires a long span of life should worship the demigods, known as the Ashvinis Kumaras. Who say that Krishna people are sectarian? It's something for everybody. It's in Bhagavatam. And a person desiring a strongly built body should worship the earth. One who desires stability in his post should worship the horizon and the earth combined. One who desires to be beautiful, is handsome also, should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet. One who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras. You heard that, huh? It's not for the brahmacharis. And the Avasi society girls of the heavenly kingdom. One who desires domination over others should worship Lord Brahma. So you want to know how to conquer over any of your enemies? If you have enemies, you worship Lord Brahma. The head of the universe. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead. And one who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigod Varuna. If one desires to be a greatly learned man, he should worship Lord Shiva. And if one desires a good material relationship, he should worship the chaste goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. So you can write down that verse and look at it closer if you're interested in that thing. So we see, well, let's read the report. There are different modes of worship for different persons desiring success in particular subjects. The conditioned soul living within the purview of the material world cannot be an expert in every type of material enjoyable asset. But one can have considerable influence over a particular matter by worshiping a particular demigod, as mentioned above. Ravana was made a very powerful man by worshiping Lord Shiva. And he used to offer severed heads to please Lord Shiva. That was several heads. He became so powerful by the grace of Lord Shiva that all the demigods were afraid of him, until he at last challenged the personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra. And thus he ruined himself. In other words, all such persons who aspire after gaining some or all of the material objects of enjoyment, or the gross material persons, are all those who are less intelligent. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:20. It is said there that those who are bereft of all good sense, or those whose intelligence is withdrawn by the deluding energy of Maya, they aspire to achieve all sorts of material enjoyment in life by pleasing the various demigods, or by advancing in material civilization under the heading of scientific progress. The real problem of life in the material world is to solve the question of birth, death, old age, and disease. No one wants to change his birthright. No one wants to meet death. No one wants to be old or invalid. No one wants to be diseased. But these problems are solved neither by the grace of any demigod nor by the so-called advancement of material science. In the Bhagavad Gita, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, such less intelligent persons have been described as devoid of good sense. Sukadeva Goswami said that out of the 8,400,000 different species of life, the human form of life is rare and valuable. And out of these rare human beings, those who are conscious of the material problems are rare still. And the still more rare persons are those who are conscious of the value of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which contains the message of the Lord and his pure devotees. Death is inevitable for everyone, intelligent or foolish. But Parikshit Maharaj has been addressed by the Goswamis as Manisi, or the man of highly developed mind, because at the time of death he left all material enjoyment and completely surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord by hearing his message from the right person. Sukadeva, that right person is Sukadeva Goswami. But aspirations for material enjoyment by endeavoring persons are condemned. Such aspirations are sometimes like the intoxication of the degraded human society. Intelligent persons should try to avoid these aspirations and seek instead the permanent life by returning home back to Godhead. So someone remind me before we end the class just to read the list of those who are up for initiation, because some people may not be quite clear. So here we see phenomenal how right in the Bhagavatam is giving some explanation of how to worship for material things. One wants a kingdom, one wants a good wife, one wants to be famous, someone wants opulence, distinction, adoration. These things are there. Just like how Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he explains so many things. And as he explains these things, thank you, he doesn't just stop there. Because just as we see how Krishna comes in every species, he comes in so many incarnations, He doesn't just give a message and then it's over. He doesn't just demand as the autocrat. And then if we don't do the necessary, then we are eternally condemned. He arranges very sweetly to give message constantly, according to Desha Kala Patra. And he arranged to have so many messengers to present the message according to what is needed. But he also arranges for many different types of messengers, presenting different types of messages. It's like sometimes people become even atheistic because they think, so many religions, so many philosophies, so many prophets, so many mentors, so many acharyas, so many mahajans, so many. Why not there be one? Why don't the same Krishna appear every time the same way? Why don't he just give a few dictates, let it go at that? Why does he arrange for many different religious systems? Because he says everyone's on his path. That means even if somebody is a Buddhist, a Mayavadi, if they're atheists, they're still on Krishna's path. They may not know to the extent that a theist knows, but they're also on Krishna's path. Does Krishna love his Sudha Bhakta more than he loves his Kama Mishra Bhakta? Does Krishna love his Kama Mishra Bhakta more than he loves the Mayavadi? More than he loves the religionist? More than he loves the atheist? No. He loves them all equally. But they are relating to him differently. And therefore they experience something different. Samoham sababhuteshu lokanam itakarana tribhuvane. Devotee is equally repose to all. But then we are not impersonalists. We don't say everything is everything. Yatamata tatapata. So how do we deal with the contradiction? Why is the same Krishna saying, Savadama parati yajna, mame kam savanam vaja, aham tam tabapavi, mokshi samima suja. Why is the same Krishna saying, abandon all varieties of religiosity? Not some, but all. He says, don't hesitate, don't fear, don't worry. He says, do it, and don't even procrastinate. Don't worry about it after you've done it, because if you do it, you'll cover it. Then why does he give all of these things? Does he want to confuse us? Of course not. But because we are confused. And therefore, he lovingly reaches us to bring us away from the confusion by creating a situation we can connect with. It's the same Krishna who's arranging. He's in the heart. Sarvastaham sanivisto mataksmiti jnanam aponamcha. He's in the heart of the religionist. He's the same Krishna in the heart of the atheist. But things are happening different around them. Things are happening different to them because of their difference. Everything is connected with desire and consciousness. And everything is mata paratananam. Yet, kincharasti dhananjaya. Mayitavamiram proktam sutramana ganiva. Everything is resting on the Lord. Nothing outside. So let's move from there into all of these different types of worships. There's worship in three different modes, isn't it? The mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Everyone must engage in worship. Everyone needs to worship. It is an integral part of our essence. And if we do not find a spiritual connection, Then people, they worship their cats, they worship their dogs, they worship movie stars, they worship entertainers. They worship the past. But worship must be there. Unless someone is dead. And even then, they're in transition. They'll be worshiping something later. It's a matter of what it is. And it's a matter of what is the science to get the benefits of that worship. Those in the mode of goodness, they worship what? They worship the demigods. And so they worship Ganesh, Shiva, Durga. They worship so many personalities for some boons, to remove material obstacles. But there is also a science how to do that, to get the proper results. Those in the mode of passion, they worship what? They worship demons. But even demons, they demand a certain reciprocation in order for them to reciprocate. Everything has a science to it. And those in the mode of ignorance, they worship spirits. They worship ghosts. But worship is there. Some ritual is there. Some austerity is there. Some yagna is there. So, how kind and merciful that Krishna is. That he is providing for every single person's interest. Whether we are theistic or not, Krishna is providing for everyone to make a connection. So what we must look at closely is, what do we want? And there's a way how to worship, to be able to get that. And then we must look at how that is to be carried out. If we want to go to the heavenly planets, then there's a connection aligned with that, and there's practices that allows one to acquire such benefits. If we want to experience the impersonal energies of the Lord, there is technique and there is process. And it must be done accordingly. If we want to go to Dwarkadam, we want to go to Vaikuntha, there is process and there's a way and there's a science. And when it is followed properly, then the results are there. We're interested in trying to attain Golok, Vrindavan, there's a process and there's a way. And therefore what is significant is for each individual to be clear in their consciousness what they want and then to go for it. That is the process of evolution. Most people, they are going for the Mahatattva and the things thereof. Most people are captured in rearranging, making different combination or permutational arrangements of just the separated energies. And then many people are concerned with what they can get for themselves. And so they examine many things, they go many places, but they carry the same mind, the same body, and same consciousness. And therefore, even when they have chance to acquire great gems, they minimize it. So it is important to be clear on what we want and to be clear on how to get it. And that is each person's prerogative. Krishna looks at he knows our yata adhikar, he knows our abilities, he knows our inward desires, and he is more than eager to assist because he's watching in the heart. In the 12th chapter, Krishna explains. He says, always think of me. That's the number one instruction. Converse to that is never forget Krishna. So Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha Yukta Vairagya, what is actually favorable for devotional service? If in fact you are always able to think of Krishna. If someone can help you to think of Krishna, and thinking is not just hearing the vibration, but it means then to act upon that, then that is wonderful. If someone is helping you to become free of sense gratification, that is magnificent. If someone is causing you to engage more in sense gratification, that is an enemy. Well, we say that is violence because devotees don't have enemies. But that is violence. One must have hunger for Krishna's love. But then how does Krishna give his love? How does Shiva, how does Durga, how do they give their love and protection? There's a process. We have to look and see what is the process. What is most unfortunate when someone is hypocritical to any process. It's not that everyone is to follow the same process. If there was a Krishna conscious president of any country, what would be his responsibility? His responsibility would not be to make everybody become a Hare Krishna devotee. But his duty would be to see that each person is being encouraged to be genuine in the particular process of devotion that they're engaged in. And if they are genuine in that, they will naturally develop deeper and deeper consciousness. And where someone is ready to take to Krishna consciousness, then one is more than willing to make it available. Be mindful of that. We are never a society of forcing anything on anyone. But we have to let the transcendental speak for itself so that it will attract. If it doesn't attract, then people will go away. If it doesn't attract, then people will feel hungry and they will look for nourishment. And if they don't find it eventually in the spiritual environments, they will go into material environments to look for some stimulation and satisfaction. So such a Krishna conscious leader would be extremely strict with himself, extremely clear about what the Siddhanta is. For one who wants to go to Golok, Vrindavan, but at the same time will be extremely merciful. And saying that those who want to worship something else, that they are encouraged to do it bona fide. That is chastity. To be able to engage in your worship and not to be disturbed or upset about anyone else who's engaged in their worship unless they are a hypocrite. We don't mind somebody worshiping Shiva, Durga, Ganesh. We don't mind somebody worshiping Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha. But we do become disturbed when they sabotage these bona fide systems that give something bona fide. So if somebody honestly worships Jesus, they can go to the heavenly kingdom. And the Vaishnava Bhaktas will be there to reach them, to take them to the next step. And so, we do not try to force the Christian to become a Bhakta, a Vaishnava Bhakta. But we must live our message where that Christian will look at us and realize they have something special. They have some greater clarity. They have some greater realizations. I want that also. And then they come forward for it. We don't have to convince the worshiper of Ganesh that he shouldn't worship Ganesh for money and wealth and opulence and other things. But we have to show that there is a higher opulence, there is a higher wealth. And so therefore the person will consider it's something that is better. When we have to force people into boxes, that is a sign of immaturity. It is a sign of superficiality. Sometimes we have to do that, but we should do it with compunction. Because it's not the mature spiritual consideration. Just as we may have affection for all of Krishna's creation, but you do not put your hand in a lion's mouth, because you know the lion will bite your hand. So one is not to be foolish. One is not to be concerned about etiquette, about systems, about criteria. But behind all of that must be how much we are always able to think of Krishna or coming toward that. Now that we basically can't do, or we wouldn't be conditioned souls. But Krishna says, okay, if you are not always able to think of me, don't think that I'm not for you. Don't think that there is no connection for you. Don't think that you have to do something else. Because he told us earlier in Bhagavatam, Kama Sabo Kama Va, Moksha Kama Idaviti, Tibani Bhakti Yogan, Yadi Tampuru Sambha. If you have many desires, all desires, one is desiring moksha, one is free of desires, Krishna says, Bhagavatam says, still worship Krishna. So Krishna says, first, Man Madhamava Bhakto, Madhati Manamati, always think of me, worship me. But if you can't do that, then he says what? Then engage in sadhana bhakti. Engage in those things that allows the ninefold process, allows the senses and the mind, body to be engaged so that one becomes purified to always think of Krishna. So we understand, first thing is always think. Be absorbed. So if we're always at that level, then of course we're pure because there's nothing disturbing us. But if we're not, then Krishna says, okay, then do these things and it will help you to think of me. Then he says, but if some reason you cannot always think of me and you're not able to follow the process that leads to prema, because either your faith is weak, or you're lazy, or you're not being enthused by the environment to follow those things, then he says, all right, it's unfortunate, but you still come to me. Then he says, then work for me. So if you're not thinking of me, you're not able to control the senses, at least connect and work, be in the environment, or help those who are always thinking, or help those who are engaging in the process of sadhana bhakti, and you will gradually also get the blessings. You get the blessings, you'll gradually also get the same ultimate results if you keep on. This is how vast that Krishna is. This is how merciful that Krishna is. This is how inclusive Krishna is. But this is how direct and distinct that Krishna is. He makes it clear, priority, first always think of me. If you're not able to do that, second, then follow the rules and regulations of those things that will allow you to. But if you can't do that, then you come on. You help those who are doing such things. You do my work. He says, even if you are in mindset that you're not ready to do my work, you don't have enough faith, enough enthusiasm, enough clarity to follow the principles or to help those who are doing my work, then Krishna says, then do your work. He says, do your own thing. But be renounced. Give up the fruits of that. Do your own thing, do what you want to do, and do not be attached to it. Offer the result. And he says, and if some reason you have trouble with that, Krishna said, I still love you. So you're still mine. And therefore, he explains then, engage in meditation. Reflection, contemplation, analyze things. So that gradually you come to a deeper spiritual appreciation and then a desire, understanding to do the necessary. If you can't do that, then acquire knowledge. So, many things are there. Just as here we've given many things in the Bhagavatam of what we can worship. So, message coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and those on the transcendental platform. Here we're finding that one who's in the material world trying to help others become Krishna conscious, if they're in charge of millions of people, their duty is to see that individuals are being genuine in their scheme of worship. If you are a disciple, be a good disciple. Doesn't matter if you have a bona fide guru connection, be a good disciple. If you are trying to be if you're trying to do this service for Krishna, you're trying to be a bajora, you're trying to be a cook, you are washing the floors doing Sankirtan, be a good Sankirtan devotee. Why? Because that connection can be what can help us to go back to Godhead if in fact we absorb ourselves in that to reach Krishna on the other side. It's all about Krishna on that side, and now we're trying to find some way to reach that. All things that are here are means for reaching that goal, or means for distracting us from the goal. So Krishna is calling us. We must have that same kind, we must have intense longing so we can hear that call, we can step forward. But Krishna lets Maya offer many different things to see just what do we really want. So if we want a good husband, just worship like this. If we want money, worship like this. If those things are a priority, we worship like this, like that. But if we want Krishna, then we worship Krishna and we ask Him to give us and provide whatever is best for us. No longer what we want, but what we need. So our wants are unlimited. And they backfire on us in many ways. They confuse us. But if we pursue our needs, then Krishna will provide. There's a story of a devotee of goddess Kali. So here is worship of Kali. So one is wanting fruit of the results. So the devotee worships goddess Kali. First he is offering some chickens. Every type of worship connection has its system of what is to be done and how it is to be done. So then he starts thinking. First he's worshiping goats. He's offering a goat to Kali. So a goat is kind of big, it's a little cumbersome. And so he's thinking, this is too inconvenient, too difficult. But then he starts worshiping. He asks, can he offer chickens? So he starts offering chickens. And then he starts offering chickens. He thinks, well, even this is too demanding. Offer the chickens on a regular basis. Then he started offering flies. So much more accessible. And then he starts thinking, well, there's so many flies. God is calling, get your own flies. So many times we're thinking about our so-called self. So-called because our real self is quite different. And everything is so much based on what we want for ourselves. We'll get cheated that way. Because Krishna will arrange through Maya, or through the Devas even, to arrange for so many things. We're not like the Buddhists. We're not trying to become desire-free, desire-less. But we're trying to stop desiring for ourselves. We want to desire whatever can help me to be a better servant. Then we want those things to happen in our life. And that is not based on gender, race, is not based on geographical environment. It's not even based on personality. Because just like devotees who are part of the process of Bhakti Ras. So we are being given the highest knowledge on the planet, but it doesn't make us a better person than somebody who has something lower. If we have, like if you go to one of the best universities, if you don't study and use the material, it doesn't necessarily make you better than the person in the state school. They may study and apply themselves even more. You have greater exposure. But the question is, do you take advantage of that? Sometimes the great exposure is an interference for you. You are trying to learn physics. You study with the best physics teacher, does that make you a better student? Not necessarily. Because the best physics teacher may not be the best for you based on your level of evolution. Try to understand that. The teacher who is best for the student in primary school is not necessarily the teacher who's best for the person in the university. Not necessarily. Sometimes you find a teacher who has university knowledge and also can teach primary school. Not necessarily. So therefore, when we jump here and jump there, we may do something that is not so healthy based on our particular status, based on our particular evolution, level of evolution. And therefore, we go greater than our own intelligence. We ask Krishna. Well, then we say, how do we know when Krishna is pleased? How do we know what Krishna wants? How do we know what Krishna wants us to do? It is so simple. You simply do the best in whatever you're doing, and Krishna will arrange organically. When something is highly spiritual, it is arranged organically. It is not imposed. It is not artificial. It jumps out at you. You don't have to go deep to try to find it. It jumps out at you. And we have to create so many arrangements, then we are arranging many times more than Krishna providing. So we go so many places to look, to hear, to see. But we should act in such a way that Krishna will come jumping out for us. It is somewhat part of sense gratification that we have to read so many books. We have to go so many places and do so many things. We're not saying there's something wrong with reading, something wrong with going. This place, that place, go this temple, that temple. You change this project, that project. But there's something wrong if your consciousness is not changing. There's something wrong if you're not coming to a point where you can be unaffected by whatever the environment is. Because a sign of strength is you being unaffected by whatever the situation is. And therefore Krishna says such person is dear. That one is not to turn on love and turn it off. We're to always to have Vaishnava love consistently. We do not turn it on and turn it off. But we see how to amplify it, how to bring it out more and more. This is the sweetness of the bhakti. That where there is proper bhakti, then Vasudeva Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Bhayoda, Jnana Gatsu Bhavagya, Jnana Chat Yoida Hoitikam. Then some things happen. You cannot fake it so easily, temporarily. But where there is bhakti, it removes nescience, it enthuses us more for the goal, it helps us to appreciate all Vaishnavas, it helps us to understand that Krishna is for everyone, that Krishna even given demigods to assist people based on their level of worship, whether this is the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. But we also understand what Krishna's greatest desire. That we always think of him. We can't do that, that we follow the rules and the regulations. Any connection that helps you to follow and to always think of Krishna, it is wonderful. Any connection that helps you to appreciate sadhus, that is wonderful. And any situation that makes you look at enemy and friend, it is a distraction. Yes, we do not associate with Vaishnavas in the mode of ignorance. We may choose not to associate with Vaishnavas who are controversial. It's up to you. But we even respect the Mayavadi, even though we see the great offender. We even respect the worshipper of the demigods. We respect all theists who are somehow trying to recognize that there is a God. But we don't join them. We honor them. But we have our alignment. And our alignment is what? Our alignment is that we are under Mahaprabhu's umbrella. So, what the Chaitanya has given us, this wonderful message, every town, every village. And so we want to do that, literally. We want to embrace this bhakti process. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, in every town, every village. So therefore we want to hear about Krishna. And then we want to act upon that. Now, like the devotee of the goddess Kali, who also had some worship, but even that was not done properly. And so therefore, then the worship is given up. We see in the case of the Brahmanas, who were so meticulously engaged in their puja. Krishna and Balaram were experiencing some hunger. So Krishna sent them to go and to beg on behalf of Balaram to send some foodstuff. So the Brahmanas, they knew so much. They were so expert in doing what they wanted. They were so expert in doing things based on what they wanted to get. And therefore, they missed the chance actually to get Krishna, even though he made himself available. So the wives of the Brahmanas, they were selfless. And because they were selfless, Krishna came to them. They did not have to engage in so much of the ritual. They were not offensive toward the ritual. But they understood the essence. And therefore, when they heard the call, they immediately responded. Later, the Brahmins, they also saw. And they realized how much they had become so absorbed in their idea, they missed the chance to get the mercy. Because they were so expert in trying to evaluate things based on their mind and not from the heart, not from the bhakti of surrender, not from the path of surrender. Sometimes we get so expert in speculation, evaluation, interpolation, and it's all coming from here. And we don't feel it from here because we can't follow the principles. When it comes from here, we easily follow the principles. We enthusiastically follow the principles. If you are following the principles, you are doing wonderful service to Mahaprabhu's movement. Doesn't matter who you are aligned with, what your project is, you're doing wonderful. If you're not following the principles, then who you are aligned with, or where you are, or where you go, you are a nonsense. And you're a disturbance to the alignment, and you're a disturbance to the process, whatever the process is. So don't be a hypocrite. And whatever your service, whatever your duty, but be honest. If you really just want money, then be honest. Then be honest about doing that properly. If you want money, then you want beautiful wife, you want opulence, then be honest about that. And then once one gets that, one can at least go to the next level. If we are not sufficiently honest, then we will not accelerate. We will not grow. But we grow by the devotional attitude, the proper service attitude, the proper consciousness. Why is it that the Brahmanas knew so much, were doing so much, and they missed the goal? Because coming to Krishna is far beyond our own specific ability. Yes, we must involve ourselves to the point where we are worthy of the grace. As we are worthy of the grace, then it connects with whatever little effort that we have arranged. It's like the sparrow. We're very honored. This is Sri Kalagan. Some devotees from Potomac have just come. He is the new president of Potomac, the Delhi project that is so famous, one of the biggest preaching projects at this particular time in Krishna consciousness. He's one of the main players in helping to organize that. And now he is in the area, so we are happy. Mukunda Maharaj has just come also. He's on the Japa walk. So they'll be with us this afternoon. So I'm just wrapping up on different processes of worship that Krishna, the Bhagavatam is explaining, that whatever one's desires are, they can be fulfilled. There's different ways to engage in certain things according to one's desires. But Krishna has told us earlier that whatever our desires are, the scriptures that we should surrender to Him. Kama savo kama va, moksha kama udavriti. So this, we see an example of Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta, the Ayurvedic, very famous Ayurvedic doctor in Lord Chaitanya's time. Lord Chaitanya once wanted to test him. And he explained to Murari Gupta that of all incarnations, Krishna's two Bhagavan Swami, Krishna is the supreme. And that everything should be focused and given to Krishna. All worship should be for Krishna. So, Murari Gupta, being Sura Bhakta, he eagerly wanted to follow the instructions. But in his heart, he was so attached to Lord Ram because he did not want to not follow the instruction. But he was not able to follow the instruction because his heart was for Lord Ram. So Lord Chaitanya has given him an instruction. He wants to follow that. So how to deal with his contradiction? So he prayed that night that he could just leave his body. So he would not have to disobey the instruction. Next day he went to Lord Chaitanya and grabbed his foot and begged that he has been instructed to worship only Krishna. He does not want to deny that instruction. But at the same time, his heart is for Lord Ram. What to do? So Lord Chaitanya understood. Of course he understood. But he was appreciative that his bhakti was chaste. That his dedication, his desire was to do the right thing. His heart was fixed in a certain place. So when we're in contradictory situations, Krishna will resolve it. We just do the necessary thing. And so, how amazing. Because Murari Gupta, he is an eternal bhakta of Lord Ram. So we see the tremendous variegatedness. That there are some souls who are eternal bhaktas of Nrsingadev. They are not going to feel the same ras, the same taste, when they see Narayan, or when they see Jagannath, or Mahaprabhu. The difference. And that is the sweetness. The Gopals, they do not feel the exact same as the Gopis. But there is no sabotaging. There is no offensive moods. There's no aparats. There's no demising. But that there is more and more appreciation of the flavor of full surrender. So we should not sabotage each other in our services. The Pujari doesn't do this service and it sabotages the cook, or the Sankirtan devotee is thinking his service is the best and therefore he doesn't do other services. Our services are there that we should do well, but in such a way that it enthuses somebody else to also to do their service. Our project should be so that we try to do them well, and we enthuse others to do their project well. And at the end of the day, there's more devotion and more service that's being offered to Krishna. Nothing wrong if somebody is thinking that their service is the best. All right, then do it with that dedication. But don't minimize somebody else's service. Don't weaken someone else in what they have to do because they are not a Sankirtan devotee or they are not Pujari, etc. But we do these with such intensity. And when we do it and offer our best, then just like when Sanatana Goswami was engaged in his worship and he was offering dry chapatis to his deity. So externally, it wasn't so wonderful. The Brahmin in southern India who was worshipping his deities in the mind, he didn't have very much. But he had intense bhakti, intense desire to do the best that he had and to use what he had to maximally. And so Krishna came out for him by giving him understanding how to worship in his mind. So what is important is the quality of the devotion. So try to understand that, especially in these days where there's so much mixed devotion, so much confusion, so much lack of chastity, so much minimizing what Srila Prabhupada has given. Let's go deep into it. Go deep into the essence. And then we'll be happy and we'll feel nourished. And when we feel nourished, we'll be eager to share that nourishment. And we'll be very enlivened as we interact with all Vaishnavas. We'll be very exhilarated as we begin to appreciate Krishna's mercy in so many ways. So in conclusion, Krishna says in 12th chapter, he says, always think of me. But if you can't always think of me, I still love you, you still love me. Follow the process of sadhana bhakti. And then move from shraddha, strong faith, to association. And go on. Follow the process to praying. And if you are not able to do that, for whatever justification you may have, however you may justify not following, and it's just that, it's just your justification. It says, but still, in spite of that, I have not abandoned you. Still you can come to me. Then, help those. Work for me. If you're not ready to work for me, help those who are working. Or do your own work and give up the results. Give up the fruits of that. If you're not able to do that, then at least analyze things. Engage in meditation. Follow some kind of austerity. Some kind of regulation. Some type of routine. Some regulation like that. Even if you can't do any of those things, then at least read. Study. So gradually you'll become aware of why you should regulate the senses. And why you should not do your work but do my work. And why you should do the work and engage in all the ninefold process. And then to ultimately to think. Don't be like the devotee of Goddess Kali, who is already in a mixed situation because it's karma conduct, but then is not even doing that properly and loses out even on that. And do not be like the Brahmanas who thought they knew so much, but then missed the most simple aspects. Krishna made himself available. They were too distracted by so much other stuff. They missed the sweet and the simple bhakti. And understand, like in the case of Murari Gupta, that we're not to impose on individuals. We should function so that what we do comes out in those who are eager to participate. Because if someone wants to follow Lord Shiva, they want to follow Ganesh, they want to follow Durga, it's up to them. They want to follow Muhammad, they want to follow Jesus, it's up to them. At least be honest. Prabhupada explains about calling on the names of God. He says, you just call any name you feel comfortable with. Do that. But if you want that most confidential connection with the Supreme Lord, then there is a process of how to get that. Just like sometimes we are sick and we take so many different medications. We remain sick because we don't follow any system to the extent that it begins to work on us. We do homeopathic. We do Ayurvedic. We do acupuncture. We do so many things, but we stick with nothing long enough so that it actually affects the system. And we know nothing's working. Nothing's working because we're not working. We're not determined enough, perseverant enough to do the necessary, and therefore it doesn't work for us. So at least first do the necessary properly, and then see if it is in fact working. Or then see those who are not taking the medicine, those who take the medicine, see how it's working for them. And those who are not, then you see what the result of that is. So in this case of Murari Gupta, Lord Chaitanya challenged him. The Lord likes to show, to glorify his devotees. So he was helping us to understand what commitment and dedication, what it entails. To worship and to be fixed in that worship. To take the medicine and then to take it fully and get the results. So Lord Chaitanya challenged them. You give them another medicine. Stop thinking of everything. Give it all up. This incarnate Krishna is sum total of all incarnations. Only worship Krishna. He wanted to. He tried. He tried like anything. He tried so much that he then prayed that his life would be taken because he was not able to do it. And Lord Chaitanya was actually pleased. So let us have so much love for wherever our connection is that we are so satisfied, so absorbed in the love we give and the love we experience that nothing distracts us from that. And if we're not getting nourished properly, then we're going to be hungry. The person is hungry, they look for food. We all have a survival instinct. So we have a duty to be merciful. That is one of the qualities of sadhu. Tikshava, karunika, tolerant, merciful. So mercy means you get something and then you make it available, you distribute it. So be merciful to each other, that you grow in your devotion, so that you can live it and share it. Be merciful to the conditioned souls, that you can be able to help them to see why they should take to Krishna consciousness, because Krishna is their well-wisher and their greatest friend and their greatest lover. So let our actions do the real talking, and let our speech just crystallize things based on our actions. Everyone can speak, but that's our actions show that we are eager to rush toward the lotus feet of Guru and Krishna. And we are eager to take the medicine fully to get the necessary results. And just as if there's a Krishna conscious president of a country, it would be fixed in his Krishna conscious, her Krishna conscious, would distinctly encourage those who are ready for the Vaishnava connection, but would also distinctly encourage those to be genuine to their processes based on Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. Every system also has its Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru, a bona fide system of theology. So it is difficult, because in Krishna consciousness we are the most conservative. We say like this: we're the most conservative and we're the most revolutionary simultaneously. Sometimes the politicians, they can't figure us out. The ecologists and others, they can't figure us out. Because sometimes we're fully in their camps, other times we're the total in opposition. What most of the liberals think, we're almost totally in opposition. What most of the conservatives think, we're in total opposition. Because we are Krishna politics. That's a bad word these days, politics. Huh? We are Krishna followers. We're not party politics. We want to know how can we glorify Krishna. And we're happy when Krishna is being glorified. Whoever's glorifying Krishna, we're happy. So, let us just reflect on this kind of chapter, this verse. We're here in Bhagavatam. So many different kinds of worship is being given, if one wants that. But let us want Krishna's love fully and be ready to pay the price for that. Hare Krishna. Any questions or any comments? Short questions? Yes.
I was just wondering, why is it that sometimes we desire, or we may be praying very intensely to always remember Krishna and to be free of material desires, to be selfless and to attain love for Krishna, but that sometimes then we see that but Krishna doesn't reciprocate? Is that because our desire is not sincere enough or intense enough?
Krishna is always reciprocating. But the question is, he's reciprocating to what? Krishna responds to the aggregate of our desires. We have many notions about many things, but the way they add up, that's the message that goes out to Krishna, that he responds to. So we have to be careful about what we're processing and what the resultant of that is, because that's what Krishna is going to respond
to. Guru, I was listening to a tape of yours, and that tape, it was called "The Love You Give Is the Reward Itself," and you addressed that very question. There was a story in the Krishna book, and it said Krishna responded to the gopis about the nature of like people loving Krishna and Krishna not returning love, and Krishna said that sometimes for my great devotees, I might not seem to reciprocate in order that I seem far away so that they love me more. And
it's a very nice commentary. Is that we don't really have to go somewhere to look for love. We have to be loving. And love will come our way. And that love itself is the reward. But Krishna is explaining to the gopis like this, that your love is so much. What can I do? How can I show you? How can I repay you? I can't. That love is so sublime, it's so deep, that is the treasure itself. What can I give you to show you my appreciation that matches what you've given? What you have given, that is the treasure of itself. Let that in itself be there for all to reflect and to meditate and to appreciate. Any other comment? Yes.
Earlier you said how we have to let Krishna jump out at us or something. How do we differentiate between understanding this is Krishna's will and this is his desire for us to be in this situation or doing this or that, or like between that and working towards something, or you know what I mean? Or how do we know the difference?
Whatever choices that anyone makes, then they will be accountable for those choices. Sometimes we say no risk, no gain. There's always pioneering, there's always some risk involved in devotional service, because there's always the element of faith. But it can have blind faith. One can make an investment just based on superficialities, secularly or spiritually. Or one can try to consider what is the tenets. What does the Shastra say? What is given to us by the sadhus? What is given to us by our founder Acharya? Or what is given to us by Guru? And then we can put these things together. And then even when we put all that together, we still may make a mistake. No problem. If we make an honest mistake based on trying to do the best for Krishna, the same Krishna will show us gradually what is the better thing for us to do. If in fact that is our real desire. We evaluate things based on what is given, sadhu, shastra, and guru. And still, we may not always do the most expert thing in the most expert way. But the wives of the brahmanas, they were not so expert. But they had expert desire. And so therefore, Krishna made himself more available for them. Or he made himself available and they were able to respond, or the brahmanas were not able to respond. But the brahmanas, too much of their own stuff was obfuscating the connection. And that is the downside. Well, when we can remove so much of the anarthas, so much of the superfluous things, then what's left there is our connection with Krishna. Anyone else? See, Krishna consciousness, it is so difficult for the cheater. It is so difficult for the faithless. It is so difficult for the speculator. It is so difficult for the opportunist. It is so difficult for the self-centered person. And it is so easy for the loving, compassionate beings. Where there is great difficulty means that there is some obstacles that's interfering with Krishna's simple, pure, divine blessings and love. That's why when there's confusion, it's not a healthy thing, because it brings interference. Or why when there's ambiguity, there is not healthy, it's not good. It should always be clarity, simplicity. That's why we see the most elevated servants in the spiritual paradigm. They are so simple, with purity, with dedication, with realization. Yes. So then Lord Chaitanya agreed to let him go ahead and worship Lord Ram, because he was genuinely worshipping Lord Ram. He was a genuine eternal bhakta of Lord Ram. He didn't say, after all, I'm that Krishna right here. I'm the Lord Ram. Take me only in this form. He's Hanuman. So he has an eternal relationship with the Lord in a certain sweetness. But the time was shown us then, that was genuine. But he gave him also the test. See, devotees, we are to, we are to qualify situations. We don't have time, but I could give you some stories of Bhaktisiddhanta, how he used to qualify people. We don't go fault finding, but one should qualify. So be careful about where you go, what you hear, what you do. In any situation, to qualify. Then you have to know what to look for. Because we are spiritual scientists. A devotee should be able to hear anybody 5 minutes, speak for 5 minutes. He should be able to evaluate something seriously about the speaker. If we are not having so much static in our consciousness, we will be able to do that. Doesn't take so much evaluation, deep evaluation. If we're interested in deep love, if we're trying to become deep lovers, then where we sense that, we'll be eager for that. And it comes in different ways. Sometimes people think deep love means you got to be smiling at people and you got to be talking soft. But his Dhamma was called Lion Guru. He's a very deep lover. He didn't love anything else. He didn't have any wife, he didn't have any children, he didn't have any assets, he didn't have nothing. He was only madly in love with Krishna. But even though he was a deep lover, he had everything. He had a big family, had a big job, had a big responsibility. He wrote so many books, did so many things. Not matter the externals only. But deeply all for Krishna. All of his children he brought into the world, all for Krishna. His administration of the Jagannath temple, his working as a magistrate, it was all for Krishna. He'd walk into it or walk out of it just as fast. And when he was doing it, he did it expertly. He did his very best. That is an offering to Krishna. That's a little late. Last question.
Since the devotion service is very hard to attain, and out of many souls that endeavor, not many really reach the goal. So how can we stack the odds in our favor? Or is there anything we can do?
Just like Rupa Goswami explains, his Ashabandha prayer. He's praying for us, not for himself, because he's a Manjari. But he's praying, I have no love for Krishna. I don't have a good connection. I'm not from a good family, I don't have a good birth. I don't have enthusiasm to follow the process of sadhana bhakti that will give love. I'm disqualified, so many things. But he understands that just like the 12th chapter, Krishna is there for us. And fully there for us if we want to connect with him on that level. So he's letting us know that even though there are some disqualifications, that he has this great faith, conviction, that if he just remains fixed under Krishna's embrace and umbrella, then he will get the full results. Because Krishna has promised. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Idami buddhi yogam yena mahapayanti. Krishna has promised that he will personally give the knowledge of how to come unto him. So it means we don't have, but then he will give. If we can go on worshiping him with dedication, proper faith, and commitment. But that's easier said than done. Because it's easy said, but it's hard to do when so many things in the environment challenges our ability to do that. It's hard to be faithful when most of our associates are unfaithful. It's hard to be enthused when most times we associate people who are not enthused. It's hard to be bold when most times people say one thing and do something different. When there's so much diplomacy and duplicity. It's hard to be humble when the tendency is that if you're humble, people will walk over you or abuse you. It's hard to be submissive when you don't know who to be submissive to, or when you're afraid that you may get cheated. But it's easy to be humble, to be submissive, and to be brave if we take the mood of Rupa Goswami. Not arrogant, but we take the mood of Rupa Goswami. Determined, perseverant, and bold. He's bold. I'm not qualified. But I can't go without it. And I'm not going to go without it. And therefore, I am going to get it. By Krishna's blessings, Krishna's mercy, and one's determination. It's sad, actually, and I end with this point, how we complicate the sweet process of bhakti. It's sad how we minimize the great gems of devotion. It's sad how we do not understand how to treat sadhus. It's sad we do not understand how to be a proper disciple, or whoever our guru is. It's sad that we sometimes take the position of guru and we claim our disciples as our own, or we claim the worship, the distinction, the adoration as our own. That's cheating. It's mixed devotion. It's sad when we do things without thinking first, what would my spiritual master want me to do? It's sad. And because of that, then our spiritual culture is not so strong. When we reverse those things, then we'll see the powerful effect. Because we will genuinely be experiencing more Krishna consciousness. So we're happy that you're all here. Many more devotees will be coming down in the next 2 hours or so. So some of you will be taking new names. But as we always emphasize, that in these yagnas, we should all benefit from them. Those who are already taking various vows, let it be a time of rejoining. Let it be a time of processing everything a little deeper. Let it be a time of trying to understand a little better just what Prabhupada's mission is, what he has given us, what is special about it, what things we're doing that's distracting, what things we can do that can add to it. Let us take it as a time that we look closer and more honest at what do we really want, and what is the way to engage in the proper worship based on that. And most important, let it be a time that we really become happier with ourselves due to the fact that we are surrendering more and are more situated in devotional service. It's unfortunate how many people are coming to this process that is engaging us for the eternal festival. And they have such a sadness in their outward and inward expressions. Why come to Krishna conscious to suffer? There's enough of that in every other situation. Why rise early in the morning just to suffer? Why spend all these hours chanting Hare Krishna and Japa just to suffer? Why try to lead a life of, controlling the senses and passions? Just for suffering. Doesn't make any sense. So you know whether you're suffering or not. There's some suffering in your life, then see what things you're doing that's causing interference from Krishna's love. Just look at this, do it, just make it that simple. Where there's suffering, then see where there's inconvenience. Because we want to come to a point that our only suffering is that we're so happy and we're sad that others are not as happy. Our sadness should be that we're so honored at what Krishna is doing in our lives that we're just sad that it's not happening more on a grander scale. That should be our sadness. Not sadness due to other types of limitations, restrictions, confusion. Be happy. Enjoy. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be around a lot of dead people. Do you want to be around dead people? I want to be around people who make me happy about service, make me enthused about surrendering to Prabhupada and Krishna, make me happy about appreciating sadhus with a special benediction to the planet, that make me enthused about reading the books, seeing the deities, taking prasadam. Speaking of prasadam, that's the veil. So I'm just going to read the names of those who will be making formalizing their commitments or going to the next connection of Brahman initiation. So, excuse me, I'll just do it in 3 minutes. And then you take prasadam and then finish things so we can start at 1. From New Jersey. Now, it's kind of interesting too because well, you'll see for yourselves. Most of the newer devotees are young devotees. I mean, young physical age, which is nice. It means that Krishna is sending some new wave and flame and fire to get the movement moving a little bit more. With this young, fresh, enthusiastic personalities. It's wonderful. And it's happening in many places, not only here, but throughout America especially. So maybe Krishna sent us a message that as old-timers we have to get some zeal, a little more zeal. So he's sending some younger personalities to give us an extra push. Like I was trying to dance, I couldn't keep up. I went upstairs, I was crying, I was just feeling the pains. And I came back down smiling like everything was okay. I want to show my age tonight. So from New Jersey, Donna, Christine, Kelly, Frank, and Greg. And that's first initiations. From New York, all these are first. John and Tyus. From Gita Nagari, Claire. From Maryland, Scott and Chrissy. From Cleveland, Jason and Myra. From San Diego, Julio. And one is reinitiated, person taking re-initiation. From second initiations, from Maryland, Garuda, Kanti, Morari Gupta, Ranti, Dave, Padma. Any of those who haven't come, let them know, so that they know. They'll be coming next hour or so. From New Vrindavan, Ekavali. From Alachua, Shalagram Sheila. From Detroit, Leela Kata, Mohini. I'm sorry, these are all seconds now, right? Detroit, Leela Kata, Mohini, Palaka, and Purusuka. From New York, Gopi. There's one or two we're still waiting to hear from the president, so if you hear your name, still may be on. So this is about 13 or 14 first, and about the same in seconds. So Mukunda Maharaj is with us. We'll be taking breakfast together, and we'll come to the program. Now, Bhaktivinoda Swami, we're trying to get him to join us, but it seems like he won't be coming until tomorrow into the East Coast area, so he may not be able to make it on time. But we want to take advantage of you all being together, learn from each other, try to understand more about what's going on in your different projects. Particularly, we want you to embrace Gita Nagari as so much of your home base. And so that means we'd like you to give your prayers, your meditations, your money, your service, your support, your heart. Adopt a cow, adopt 3 cows if you like. We won't feel that you're being greedy. You can go out and you can milk the cows also under their guidance. So if you want to just go into the woods and you want to run and scream and cry, we got a lot of woods here. You want to go look for Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda? You find your special woods there. We won't mind. You can scream as loud as you want. You can cry as loud as you want. You can chant as loud as you want. Take a harmonium when you go and chant, you can sing there as loud as you want. We'll all be happy. Somebody will be doing on this side, somebody will be doing on the other side. So we often say once you're here, over 3 or 4 minutes, you're no longer a guest. So now you're a resident, even if you're a temporary resident. So we'll try to take advantage of these days to discuss many things. And we'll get the blessings of Mukunda Maharaj, the senior most Prabhupada disciple in the entire world, to be with us this afternoon. There's a special benediction and such. ISKCON founder Chad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. C.C. Radha Kalachandi Radha Damodar Radha Gopinath ji ki.
His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami ki.
To further your interest in the subject matter of this tape, please contact the Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology, P.O. Box 76451, Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. 20013.